What's going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to this show. We got another Premier League fan debate show tonight. And big up to all of you that's come over from Just Joe. And of course, thank you, Joe. Do appreciate that, my bro. Thank you so much, man. How are you, mate? You good, Joe?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm really good. Yeah, I'm just excited to be on with you. And I'm even more excited that my good fan Sherpa Van Dam's on as well, as I seen his face there. And Dave, of course. But yeah, good.
No, big up, man. Come on. It's close now, man. That time of the season where you think, do you know what? Leeds are coming back up again. It's not about that, man. Leeds are coming back up again. Looks like Leeds and Leicester are going to do it, man. If Ipswich have anything to say about it, of course, they'll want that not to happen. But, yeah, it's looking like Leeds and Leicester favourites for me. But we'll see. Big up to Dave. Big up to Dave. Big up to Lil Dan. Great to see Lil Dan back on the show. How are you, mate? Repping Wolves in the house. You can see, loving the top. How you doing, bro?
I'm all good in general. I don't know about you guys, but I need a VPN.
You know what? That is such a good segue, man. Because if you do need a VPN, then make sure you check out Surfshark VPN. I won't play the trailer because
please play the trailer. Please play the trailer. Play the trailer, man.
Dan gets very jealous when I play the trailer. He doesn't like it. I don't know if he's jealous of me or judges or both of us. But there's jealousy in the house, man. It's because EastEnders and Coronation Street have not been off the blower to us. That's what it is, right? Britain's Got Talent is actually back now, people. Britain's Got Talent is actually back weekly, and they keep giving us a Dan Lee. Can you come on? We're running, need you to get involved with some acting. But make sure, in all seriousness, that you do that. It's pinned in the comments. It's in the description. Make sure you click on it and get yourself a VPN, as Lil Dan has suggested. Do you know what I'm going to start with? None of your clubs. I'm going to start with Liverpool because I want to get an opinion from teams that aren't fighting for the title like myself. That's not a dig. That's just an actual thing before anyone jumps at me. Liverpool, let's start with you, Joe. Have they bottled it, bruv? Are they out of it now? Is it done, dusted?
I don't know if bottle's the right word because I don't think any of us expected them to be where they are. I think before the season started. They may have, as the season went on, it might have developed that way. But I think at the start of the season, I think we all earmarked Arsenal as City as being in a race. And it made it interesting for a few weeks. But I don't think they're quite ready yet. And that sounds mad saying that about Liverpool. But obviously the transition in midfield with the players, etc. I don't mind Liverpool as a football club. But they don't half get carried away with themselves. And, there was talk of a quad. And then a treble, and then now they there was right. There was talk. There always is. The quad's on. Oh, now the quad's a treble. Oh, we'll do this, and do it for Klopp and all that sort of jazz. Which, yeah, it's not gone how they would have liked, of course. But no, I don't think that Salah pre the African Cup of Nations was on fire, right? He was on fire, weren't he? He's come back and he's not the same player. He had that injury, and I think that's been a problem for them as well. I think if he'd have come back in anywhere close to the form he left in before the injury, it could have been different, mate. It could have been different, but when he's not been as... I mean, he still can be profligate, but when you're then relying on the likes of Nunes and stuff to provide that clinical edge, Gakpo... Because they've had chances in games, mate. It's not just it. And Jota, for example, Jota comes back, Jota the slaughter, finds the back of the net, bam, he's injured again. He knows where the back of the net is. Dan will be able to tell you that much. So, injuries at key times, squad not being as good as it should. I don't know if we could call it a bottle, but to lose to Everton must really sting. And I think, again, for Klopp's swan song to be him losing to Everton and, going out with the whimpers, quite hilarious, if I'm honest. But there you go. That's my thoughts.
It's mad because I listened to Jamie Carragher last night basically saying that this Liverpool side ain't really good enough and Arsenal and City got the edge on them and all this. He weren't saying that a few weeks ago when they were going for the quad, let me tell you that. But what is quite funny is that it was all about Liverpool doing the quad. Right, and this isn't me giving the dig out to Liverpool fans. This is the comparison between Arsenal and Liverpool. Before I go any further, I did think Arsenal bottled the league last year, right? Because we were 8 points clear. It was only 5 really because they had a game in hand, but it was 8 points on the board that we had, and we should have won the league. We didn't. We bottled it. But when Liverpool has suggested that when they're 5 points clear and that they haven't bottled it because they're not good enough, it's very strange to me. It's like 1 minute you're doing a quad, but you ain't actually good enough to win the league. So which one is it? Like, it's mad for me. So Arsenal can bottle it. Liverpool can't bottle it. They just weren't good enough, and they're overachieving. Actually, that's what he said. I think we've overachieved now. So squad, we ain't going to win the league because we ain't good enough. So actually, we're overachieving now. Like, what a mess. That is a mess to me. Like, that is mad. Now, I happen to agree with him in terms of Liverpool. I don't actually think if they would have won the league, I would have looked at that team and gone, "Cool, yeah, there's no one beating them. Look at them. They're phenomenal. They ain't a better side than City." And if I'm honest with you, I think it's pretty close between Arsenal and Liverpool in terms of the squad. I don't think it's miles was ahead of us. They've definitely got more world-class players than Arsenal. But I think that if you look at both the squads, it's not clear of Arsenal's, in my opinion. So I think Liverpool and Arsenal still got a way to go to catch up with Man City's squad. But let's be real, it was just a strange thing to be saying. And I think, like, let's be real, Jamie Carragher does say some wild things. I quite like him, but he does make some wild claims when it comes to Liverpool, just like Gary Neville, who I quite like, unless it's we're talking about Man United when he talks absolute nonsense. So I do think there is a little bit of that when it comes to Carragher and Neville being biased. But let's come to you, Dave, Asprey. What do you make of do it for Klopp? Is that now done and dusted? Because I think the team have let him down. I've got to say this. I know Klopp's getting a lot of this, oh my God, but actually this is the players for me. I don't think Klopp has done anything wrong. He's put out a side that has crumbled, in my opinion. The players have got, this pressure's got to the players, I think.
It's a Klopp stop, isn't it, really? That's where we're at. I did think they would be involved. And I thought that once Klopp announced that he was leaving, that there would be some kind of victory procession. And I thought that would take them there. But they've fallen off a cliff. I mean, the Atalanta game was like, where did that come from? And then I watched it and they were just cut to ribbons by a West Ham reject. Right. And then the Palace game, I mean, Eze just strolled through it. And it's just seeing that they kind of reached this point where the harder they tried, the worse it got. I mean, last night, really, our lot were all kind of thinking, well, if Liverpool could beat Everton. I spent the whole game wanting Everton to get 3, 4, 5, 6. And because I've no love for Klopp. I think Klopp is a hypocrite. I think Klopp is an utter gentleman when things go his way and not an utter gentleman when things go against him. If he wins, he's all over the field, shaking hands with the opposition, putting his arm around players. If he loses, he's down the tunnel faster than a First World War miner. Honestly, he's just an unlikable character. And Liverpool, I just kind of find it quite amusing, really. I echo everything Joe says. I have nothing against Liverpool Football Club. I think, they're one of the great clubs of the world. I haven't really got anything against any other football club, to be honest. Probably more against my own at the moment than anybody else's. But I watched them last night and I thought they started quite complacently. We're Liverpool, it'll just happen. And I think they have shot their bolt. I mean, my view is that the equaliser in the title race for me is the lack of Ilkay Gundogan at Manchester City. That has made it more interesting. I think if Gundogan was still in situ at Manchester City, they would be clear and they'd be pretty much home and hose now. I still think they will just about nick it. But Arsenal the other night. I don't hate Liverpool, mate. I don't really hate anybody. I can't be bothered with hate, to be honest.
You ain't got a hateful bone in your body, have you, Dave, mate? You don't even hate Derby County, man, do you? If we're being honest,
not really, Joe. You've shown me up on national TV. I should hate Derby, but I don't. I've got loads of Derby mates around where I live, and they're good lads. You know what I mean? But the thing is, this title race should go to City, but Arsenal are still in there. I mean, I don't know what to make of the other night with Arsenal because they were excellent, but their opposition was pathetic. Probably the only club worse run in this country than ours at the moment. So it's a bit difficult to know. Arsenal could only beat what was in front of them. But Liverpool, that Atalanta game, it just kind of came out of nowhere and they just don't seem to have recovered from it. And you could see them getting beat at West Ham this week, and West Ham aren't great at the moment either. So unfortunately, as we're probably going to for the next few seasons, we'll end up, it's going to be City again and what have you, and we'll end up at the same end point,
Fair play, man. Dave, listen, we're going to come to Luton, but I need to just spin your head towards the title race for the moment. Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City all going for it. I've got a couple of questions for you. Do you think this is a 2-horse race now, or are Liverpool still in it in a 3-horse race? And my other question is, do you think Man City will drop points tonight to Brighton, or do you think it will be quite comfortable for them?
Well, firstly, I think it's a 2-horse race. I think you can count Liverpool out now. Genuinely think that. I don't think after the display, if they play like they did against Everton, again they'll lose more points. And I think the whole Klopp thing was a big pressure thing for them, wasn't it? The whole look at me, I'm leaving. So yeah, I'm discounting them. You can bookmark this just in case it goes wrong. And it's a 2-horse race. It's you guys, Arsenal versus Manchester City. Manchester City in pole position if they get some points tonight. I think. I can't look past them because for one of the, they beat us 5-1 2 weeks ago, didn't they? Their display that day was immense, and I've seen, when I came to Arsenal did the job. Obviously, they did the job 2-0, but it didn't feel the same. So, can Brighton beat them tonight? I don't know. Maybe they can get a point. Brighton's form's not been brilliant, has it? They've lost. They've been up and down here. Injuries are there. They've what is it? They've only lost 1 in 12 at home or something like that recently, or the other way round. So at home, their form has been okay. Their away form has been shite. So I suspect they'll give them a game, but I think Manchester City will be too strong for them, and I think they'll end up winning. For the sake of the league, it would be better if they didn't win. For the sake of the excitement to get to the end, it would be better if they didn't win. It'd be nice if it was going down to the last game for both up and down at the end of the season. Except I don't want to be in that. But I think, I think the crunch game. I think the crunch game is the weekend for Arsenal, really, and maybe Arsenal will throw it away rather than Man City win it in the nicest possible way. Dan, obviously. Look what Everton did to Liverpool last night. Everton wanted that game more, absolutely more than Liverpool did. They were on it. I sat there watching it and I got my head in my hands because I need them to lose or at least draw. And they took the game to Liverpool and they took their chances. And after the VAR incident, VAR incidents and things, they did well to come back into it. And I feel that Tottenham, I want to do the same to Arsenal when they play. And I think it could be a real tough game. So I think it hinges on Arsenal's results rather than Man City's results. I think I can't see where they're going to drop points, if I'm honest, because when they're on fire, they are the best team in the division without a shadow of a doubt. And I know it's only Little Luton, but obviously I was in awe of them when we lost 5-1. I just looked at them and went, how can you cope with this?
Yeah.
And so they play some great football. So I'm sorry to say it's a 2-horse race. I think it's for Man City to lose the division.
Yeah,
Phil.
I quite agree. And I've said that for a while now. I think they'll go on to win their 8. They've won their 2. I think they'll win their final 6. I'm kind of praying that Fulham can do something, Wolves can do something, Brighton can do something tonight, Forest can do something. I just want somebody to do something against them. Just please, just try and do something, whatever it is. Even if it's a point, I don't care. Just please try and do something. So it's going to be difficult, man. They're a top side. They're absolutely ridiculous. And you can see how well Arsenal and Liverpool are playing this season, and they're still not been able to get up with them. That's how good they are, man. They've got 6 games, and I think they're going to win all 6. But I pray that we can win our 4 and they slip up, but we'll see what happens. It's going to be really difficult. I don't know if I can see anything happening tonight. I'm praying for Brighton. I'm hoping that boy Welbs can do something. Go on, Danny Welbeck. Please do something. We'll see. We'll see what's what. Dave, your football club at the moment, I've got to say, bro, it's a bit of a mess, if I'm honest. Your chairman is very unlikable, I have to say. Running on the pitch, thinking he's like something out of The Sopranos was not really a good look, I didn't feel. And then this stupid social media thing, which has clearly come from him. I've got to say, it clearly has. Now, I understand, and like Dan, I can bring you in as well on here. Like, I would say out of all of the clubs with VAR decisions and officials, Wolves have probably got an actual fair shout to have a complaint about it. I've seen most games this season either on Match of the Day or live, and I think Wolves have had absolute shocking decisions against them, like
Yeah.
horrendously bad. Not just
Yeah.
like, oh, that if we would have got that, we might have got a point or we might have scored a goal. Like, would have won the game if it weren't for that crap decision, or would have, like, it goes right from the first game of the season when Onana takes out Dawson right the way through past Christmas. I think there's probably, I don't know, Dan, I'll ask you, do you reckon there's 5 or 6, little Dan, that you've had this season where they've gone wrong?
I've lost count now, Dan.
Yeah, exactly.
VAR's just been like the bane of Wolves fans' life since it was introduced. The Wolves was one of the most up and coming teams that had a lot of momentum. Then the pandemic and VAR it, and until this season, we've not really enjoyed football. And there's a lot of people that I know with, the imminent season ticket announcements pricing. Now Dave's already been stung with his club. There's rumours that Wolves are going to be raising their prices by 12%. It's beginning to be a hell of a whack to the wallet for something that is fast becoming really unenjoyable. Like there was chance of it's not football anymore last night at our game. We didn't deserve anything from the game last night, but we had 2 VAR decisions go against us, which we scored 2 goals, and people are literally not celebrating goals anymore because there's always an inkling that there's going to be some form of check. I'm not sure if you saw the first one we had disallowed, where there's an off the ball flailing of an arm which has no contact, no.
I didn't get it.
Justin Kluivert doesn't claim for it. The linesman who's yards away from it doesn't flag. The thing for me with the in-stadium experience now, there's no footage on the big screens. You can't hear the audio of what's being discussed. What are we paying all this money for? It's just all catered for the people who are watching abroad, isn't it, and watching at home. And like I said, with the season ticket price that going up, I know a lot of people now that are really, football's an absolute cult, isn't it? No one wants to walk away from it, but people are going to start saying no now, and I think it's really heartbreaking. There was a tweet that went out earlier that a guy took his 10-year-old son to the game last night, and his 10-year-old son didn't celebrate the goals because he thought, oh, VAR, I'm going to check this for some reason. When people aren't celebrating goals, what is football anymore? It's tough to take. But
I'll tell you this, little Dan, you make a good point, because when this was brought in, sorry, Dave, I will bring it back to Forest in a minute. But for me, when we brought this in, I said I didn't want it for that reason, because I didn't feel like you could celebrate a goal. And do you remember they were going to bring it in and they kind of tested it in the Champions League first, and then it was the Man City Spurs game, and City scored and everyone went mental, and then they brought it back, and I thought, God, I don't want that happening in my stadium. And it's happening now in everyone's stadium every single week. And like Joe, you're in the Championship now. It must be a bliss to not have to worry about that crap anymore. I'll tell you that now. That's one of the only good things about going down. If you do go down, any of you lot, you won't have VAR and that crap to deal with, right? So that's the only positive, I suppose, you got going down.
Willie Nonto's goal was offside at the against Middlesbrough on Monday.
There we go.
And
there we go.
Patrick Bamford blocked the Lino's view. So obviously we win that game as well. So happy days. But it has also gone against Sunderland. Luke O'Nien handballed it away from Rodon's head. But it swings and roundabouts, right? Yeah, we were fuming against Sunderland. We beat Borough. Well, it happened to us a couple of weeks ago. You take your licks if you like. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's how it should be, right? I mean, you can bring it back to that. Had that Coventry goal been given against Manchester United, no one would have complained.
That's what I was going to bring up.
No one would have complained. No, and it's not just because it's Man United and it'd have been amazing for the glamour of the cup and that, but no one was going, oh my God, they've cheated. That it should be there for a clear cheating scenario. I don't know, I bring it back to say Lampard's goal in the game against Germany that's over the line, for example. That there, okay, we can do it there. I know that's goal line technology, but for inches, it's just ruining it. Like Dan says, he's bang on the money. And with everything, the pricing, VAR, the FA Cup shit we've had to deal with, it's all going one way, man. It's all
how is the Premier League the biggest league that's got the most money in it, and we're the ones that are making the biggest farce of VAR? I said on our channel the other day, maybe we have to start importing officials from other leagues to do the VAR for us, because we've got that much money. Let's go and buy everyone else, because we're making that much of a farce of it. What's the point? We're
No, I agree.
so far down the rabbit hole with VAR now. We can't go back.
No,
So
we
the
are,
top-
and that's the problem we got. There's nothing there next season that I think will come in to improve it. There's laws are too grey. We're putting in VAR decisions because it's a Nats Willie of offside. It's just getting ridiculous now. Like it's not enjoyable. That you look at Coventry fans there celebrating, absolutely elated. Probably not going to go to the Premier League now. Potentially beat Man United, go to an FA Cup final, go back to Wembley. And then they go, no, that was a blatant offside. And you're looking at it still thinking, how is he offside there then? What the hell's going on there? It's just a joke, man. That is not fun. That's not football for me. It's just become ridiculous. And if they bring this technology in, which is not going to stop manual lines being drawn in, which is a joke anyway. I mean, bring the VAR in when you've got the actual equipment, not have some idiot on the line putting it on it. This is the problem we've got with it, man. It really is. But listen, Dave, I'll bring it back to you because I will say this. My point, what I brought on VAR with Wolves was obviously with the tweet that you'd put out. The reason I didn't actually like it wasn't because of the decisions, because they were a joke, by the way. I thought you blatantly should have had penalties, right? I thought Ashley Young, I don't know how you can have one player deal with all three of them and pretty much all three of them being penalties in my eyes, but that's another discussion. But when Wolves had it, Gary O'Neill was quite professional. He come out and he sort of said, look, I'm not going to sit there and make excuses, but they're pretty bad. What I didn't like was the Forest account at the end said Nottingham Forest will now look at their options, and I thought, what the hell is this? Are they like gangsters? Like, are they going to have to like come and fill people in or something? It just made it look like that. And I just thought that is a really bad look, man. It was a bad look, Dave. So I know you've been very vocal when you say it how it is. You're quite honest about it. And you've said tonight already that you're disappointed. So talk to me about how you're feeling, man.
It's been the least enjoyable week supporting Nottingham Forest that I can remember for a long, long time, lads. It's been uncomfortable. It's been embarrassing. What price dignity? What price class? I mean, Goodison last weekend. I mean, I remember getting there and being really, really inspired by one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, the Dixie Dean statue outside. 60 goals in one season, 433 games, 383 goals. Astonishing. And my head was blown by it. Football, how amazing. 90 minutes later, I couldn't get out of the ground quick enough. Forest were awful. Yeah, the first one, I didn't think the first one was a penalty. The second one, yeah, I've seen him given. The third one was a penalty, and there was a clear and obvious error by the referee. He went like that to say that Ashley had got the ball. He didn't. He took Callum out from behind. But what I couldn't get away from was Forest didn't deserve any of that. Forest weren't good enough to be lucky enough. They played scandalously like they were on the beach. They have no courage on the ball. They don't have a guy who can beat a guy. They don't have a guy that gets bums off seats. How many Nottingham Forest players are in people's Premier League fantasy football teams at the moment? Hardly any. And that tells you they are not good enough. So I came out the ground thinking hope has died. This is a really poor team that they don't seem to get the situation they're in. They don't take the anger around the club that is being expressed, bottle it, channel it, and take it onto the field and use it. Everton looked the more angry team to me than Forest. Forest kind of got the ball, knocked it around in midfield, tried to play a forward pass and gave up. And I basically watched my own team and I thought they're no better than Watford, they're no better than Cardiff, they're no better than Sunderland, they're no better than Coventry or Hull. I think if they were having to play Leicester, Leeds, Southampton, Albion, Ipswich, you name it, they'd struggle. They're a really poor team, Forest. And thankfully, a lot of people have ignored all these corruption ideas and said, well, Forest are just awful. We can moan. You see, me, right? And I felt bad about this. If I'd have been the manager of Nottingham Forest on Sunday night, I'd have said, some you get, some you don't, we move on. I wouldn't have questioned any of them, right? But football these days isn't like that. My owner isn't like that. My owner is, we walked out of Everton, right? And I was with Dora and a few of the lads. And we stopped in Stanley Park. So we were waiting for somebody else who comes with us to meet us in Stanley Park. And we looked at the tweet. And I was like, that is just so classless. It was dreadful. Now, it has kind of led on to a conversation. Now, my view is, I don't believe that. I will only believe there's corruption when I hear hard, irrefutable evidence. If the audio comes back and Stuart Atwell and somebody else is sitting in a room going, I tell you what, let's do Forest. If I hear that, then I'll say, right, yeah, there's corruption. And my club has already been victims of corruption many years back. 1984, Anderlecht bought the referee for the UEFA Cup semi-final. It was proved later, and Anderlecht were punished. Forest couldn't be then put into the UEFA Cup final because it come and gone. And that's another thing. What do Forest want to do? Right, we all go back to Goodison Park and we play the game till all the decisions go Forest's way. No, it's unrealistic. So when you, like you say, Dan, Nottingham Forest are considering their options. What, to play the game, all the games again? Are we going to play the games where Forest have thrown points away from winning positions? Are we going to play the games again where Forest have failed abjectly to defend a set piece? Are we going to do all that as well? Because it seems to me people don't want to accept that my club is culpable for the position it's in. And that's reason enough. 4 points given away against Luton Town. 4 points given away against Crystal Palace. 2 points given away against Burnley. 2-0 up at Manchester United. Didn't win. Couldn't see the job through. And so hope has died with the team. I'm uncomfortable about the way that the club is run. I think it's a dictatorship and a tyranny. If anybody were to speak, I mean, if I was to go on a Forest channel and say, look, I just don't think the owner's up to it, I'll probably end up getting death threats or something. There's talk about, are Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher safe going to the City ground on Sunday? I mean, in this day and age, aren't we a civilization? I mean, that's just ridiculous. So I'm Forest till I die. Yeah, go on.
What do you make as well to the fact that he tried to tweet it at half time? He tried to tweet it at half time. That was even before one of the worst shouts. So, obviously social media have managed to wrestle him back from doing that, but you'd think, calm down. And he's like, no, you can imagine, can't you? I want it out now. Imagine it to come at half time. Mental, man. He's off his head.
Joe, it's shameful. I look at Tony Bloom at Brighton. What a gentleman. I don't know who the Brentford owners are. Brilliant. Foley at Bournemouth. Excellent. There are good owners in this country. I think there's probably only Bowley that's worse than ours, right? And I want people to look at Nottingham Forest and go, what a good club they are, how well run they are. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, had that tweet gone out on Sunday afternoon and it'd been Derby County, what would the Forest fans have said then? Oh yes, we're all in solidarity with Derby County. No, they wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? Because they're kind of so fickle. I mean, I don't think it's a question of officials' integrity, right? I don't believe. And people say, oh yeah, they're all corrupt. Well, I don't look at the bad stuff in life. I like to think there's good stuff there, right? I do think there's a problem of competency though, and there's a problem of consistency. So, and little Dan will know this as much as I can. And I tell you what, the Wolves have had them. Probably us and the Wolves have had more. Yeah. And just on the volume, the numbers of things that have gone against Forest, you could sort of imply, you could infer that there's something going on. But Wolves haven't stuck a tweet out, have they? You know what I mean? And I thought the tweet on Sunday was just scandalous, and it just was not. It was unbecoming of the club that Brian Clough kind of built. And I thought, what would the great man do? The great man used to say, we don't have trouble with referees. We try to entertain, and he never bothered with referees. The Forest teams of Brian Clough never picked up red and yellow cards because they were that frightened of him going back in the dressing room. So they stayed away from it. But our club now has kind of lost its, the whole thing. It's this petulance off the field, a lack of talent and urgency on it, a manager that we don't care about, and I don't think really cares about us, and who will be gone in four games' time, whatever happens. The ticket price rises created an unbelievable bow wave of irritation last week. Mine's gone up 110 quid, right? I sit in the Trent end, as you know. And I'm thinking 110 quid more for what? Likely the Championship. And for this lot, so a lot of people who are struggling already to pay gas bills, electricity bills, put food on the table, live the real life, not just going to football. They're already struggling. And this lack of empathy over here says, bung it up another 110 in my case, and more in other cases.
Dave, sorry, because I'm passionate about all this kind of stuff. I get on my soapbox a little bit about it, but it's like with obviously, what they've done as well, they've reduced the age, right, for adult season tickets. So normally it was 21. They've reduced it to 18, yeah? So someone, I don't know which side it is, maybe it's in the side you just mentioned, the Trent. So someone that previously would have been paying, I think, 100 and odd, say they were 17, because now they're classed as an adult, even though normally they'd wait to 21. Their tickets bumped up nearly 700 and odd pound, because they've gone from 100 and odd quid all the way up to the adult prices of 800 and odd, and they're only 18. How are they expected to pay that at 18? Some of them will be students and stuff.
£850. It's
there you go.
I know them numbers. It's a disgrace.
It's mental.
What they've got,
mental.
What they've got to do, Joe, is they've got to be billionaire shipping magnates to be able to pay it. That's what they've got to do.
And the worst thing he did as well, he actually put out a statement to say, "Oh, just to let you know, there's about 20,000 on wait list," as if to say, if you don't pay it, someone else will, which is bang out of order, man. It's disgusting.
Utter arrogance and utter entitlement. It just confirms my suspicion that the greatest threat to our society, we're not just talking football here, is billionaires. And with great wealth does not necessarily come great intelligence, great perception, or great empathy. And I think our club is in disarray. And I don't know if it's a question for later in the show. Who's going down? We are going down. We are not getting anything on Sunday afternoon. In fact, I'm bracing myself for a true crushing humiliation, right? We won't get anything the following week because they'll be down and they'll drag us down with them because they hate us, probably since the miners' strike. The following week, if Cole Palmer turns up, we get hammered. He'll beat us on his own. The rest I'm not so sure about. And then what? Turfmoor away on the last day of the season to try and stay up? Forget that. Because I think, unfortunately, for the bottom four, and I'm looking at Dave when I say this, and the good folks at Sheffield United, Nick and everybody else, Burnley have the momentum. Burnley have stood by their guy. And I think Burnley to me look like the ones who are going to get out. I think we'll go. I really do. I can't. Hope died this week. I can't see where we're going to get any points from. The conspiracy theorists have loved it. They want corruption. They're desperate for it. They're desperate to pin the blame on anything other than looking inwardly. So when people are talking about he didn't get this decision, didn't get that decision, it's like, do you know what, lads? You know what I've thought? And I'm not going to be gratuitously, graphically personal, but my dad died in October. My mum died in January. I want my mum and dad back, but I can't have it. I've got to accept it. And stuff happens in your life. And my view is, if I stay dignified when, shit's going against me, my turn will come and I'll get something good. What is it? If you can meet triumph and disaster and treat the two impostors the same, then the world, my son, and everything in it is yours, right? To quote Kipling. And I guess you won't get a lot of other Forest fans quoting Kipling. But I actually think I've seen a lot of people on Forest podcast this week. To me, the sensible ones, but then they're probably the ones who are considered to be on the inside. All this nonsense, I mean, Goldbridge can wax lyrical about corruption and all that, but I think Forest are in the position they're in because they haven't been good enough. They've not been good enough on the field. They're poorly run off it. All connection between the various facets of the club have been lost, and it's not enjoyable at the moment. Everything little Dan said about going to matches and being a Wolves fan applies to the way I feel at the moment. It's the first time, lads, with this show I've been like really nervous about coming on, thinking, am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to put my foot in it? Am I going to open my mouth just to change my feet? What? Because I know over here there's a load of people who can't get away from there's corruption and all this kind of stuff. And you accept the decision to move on, and people say, oh, you can't do that. Well, what else can you do? I mean, I consider the options, and there aren't any really. So it's no fun. I think VAR to change tack slightly. I do think if Forest have done anything positive, they've initiated a conversation about something which is a true blight on our game. It's an appalling thing. The point about the Coventry folks, I watched them celebrating. I mean, I was celebrating that goal after I got back from Goodison, and see all those little kids in sky blue shirts, like having their incredible moment that they'll remember for the rest of their lives, and then dragged away 30 seconds later by some, faceless official. VAR's got to go. I mean, the Championship this year, how many true, headline controversies have there been in the Championship this year? None. And I've seen Premier League referee Championship games. I saw Rob Jones, who famously sent Willie Bolly off against Bournemouth. I watched Rob Jones do a Plymouth game one night. It might have been Leeds at Plymouth or something. It might have been a cup game, something like that. And he had a great game because he didn't have to worry about VAR. He was able to get on and referee, do the job, So I think VAR, I think the goal line technology is fantastic. As kind of predicated off what happened with Frank Lampard in Bloemfontein. But I think VAR is the game's cancer and it needs cutting out at the moment.
Goal line technology is black and white, though, Dave, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Goal line technology is buzz, it's gone in, nothing, it ain't gone in. Some of these rules, the handball one, God knows what is handball. Apparently, Wan-Bissaka's is, Grealish's isn't. Well, you look at them both and tell me what that's all about. So there's loads of these rules that have got to be changed as well. But I want to say as well, because I mean, you say you think you're going down. Dutty, big up to Dutty. He thinks you're going down as well. He says, I'm going to miss Dave. He's my favourite person to listen to, knowledgeable and honest from a Spurs fan. Big up, Dave. Listen, I don't know that it is over yet. I know that it's time for Forest to look down at their club, but I don't think that you're playing football where I think, they're dead and buried. I think it's way too wide open. I will say I think Everton are now safe. I think that confirmed that for me. They're now done. And I do think Burnley, Forest, Luton are going to have a very nervy ending. I really do. And I look at the games and I mean, Dave, I'll move it to you, bro, because Luton, you've got Fulham who are on the beach, let's be real. And you should be, I know it's not easy, but you shouldn't have anything to play for. You've got Everton, which, I mean, that one there just has to be a win. And then I think, who else have you got, Dave?
Well, we've got Wolves on Saturday.
Wolves first. There you go.
So I was delighted to hear what Dan said about his team, but I have to say we're still full of injuries. We're not in the position we were like 8 games ago. We are playing, but we're not playing well. I mean, last weekend, let's write that off totally. We made Brentford look like Brazil. So I'm a bit worried. If we had our firepower, if we had Ali Bayo up front, if we've had our full squad out, I think we would have been quite safe by now. I was looking forward to coming to Wolves. We had a pre-season against Wolves and we did all right up there. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, we've got to cut this short. He's got fucking Stuart Atwell behind him. That's bang out.
Yeah, I know. It had to be done.
That's for me, Dan, not for you, mate. That's for Dave Asprey, not you, mate. He said in the
listen,
third person.
The whole Stuart Atwell thing.
Dave Atwell,
if the whole discussion about him on the internet is basically that, this would have been your pub banter before all this social media stuff that we all do. You'd have been down the pub, you'd have moaned about the referee, you'd have forgot about the referee, you'd have got on with the game, you'd have watched it next week. But I just put it up just for a little laugh, and thanks for seeing it. So Luton at the moment, I'm sort of in that point of despair. I didn't want Everton to win. It wasn't a good result for us. And if you think about the Stuart Atwell thing, why would he want Everton to win? We didn't want Everton. We wanted a draw. A draw would have been the best result for Luton Town. Yes. So the whole thing is just gone a bit stupid. Can Luton do it? We've got 4 games: Wolverhampton Wanderers, then the big one, Everton. If we don't, we need to get a point at Wolves, because I do think, despite what Dave says, I think Nottingham Forest will get points somewhere, and I don't know whether they'll get points back from your, I hope not for my team's sake. But then we've got the Everton game. Everton game is pivotal. If we don't win that, then we've gone. But and then we've got West Ham and then Fulham. So in the nicest way, and I know Luton have been brilliant all season, but they are potentially winnable games if we play to our strengths. But the problem we have is that we're not strong enough. Our squad is depleted for injuries. We've had 11 players out. We had 2 come back at the weekend, 3 come back at the weekend when we were playing Brentford, and I'm thinking, well, I know, Dave, Dan, you don't like him, but Lokonga on Saturday showed a different class when he was playing. So I was delighted to see him back. And Kabore comes on, and within 20 minutes he's injured, and then our centre back gets injured, and then we get turned over 5-1. And I don't think our squad is strong enough to make it. So I'm thinking that we don't get any points at Wolves, then we're done. And I think, and I agree with Dave, Burnley, who we wrote off weeks and weeks ago, are the ones that might show us up.
Forest and Burnley, last game of the season. Forest v Burnley. That is
Crazy.
mad.
Yeah.
Absolutely mad.
You know what, lads? I mean, this time last year, the virtue was in not changing your manager. And that might be the case again, because whatever you think, Burnley have stuck with Vincent. You know, they've kind of hitched their star to him. I think they probably thought at certain points of the season, well, we're going to go down, so we might as well stick with him because his record in the Championship is good. They might actually end up better off than they thought they were. You know, I mean, at the moment, they are the ones of the bottom four. They're the ones with momentum. I think they've only lost one in the last 7. And people like Sonderberger and Foster and Assignon and people like that are beginning to play well. And I think their unity comes across as being better than ours. I think Luton are in trouble just because of the depletions that they've got. Yeah. And I think we're in trouble because I just think we're
well, you've got Sheffield United and Burnley, and they're both about what, you know, if you were to pick 2 games that you'd want to play, I know that it's different. But in terms of the league table at the moment, Sheffield United and Burnley are games that you should win, in my opinion, Dave. If you want to stay in this division, you've got to win both of them games.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Dan, right? I mean, without any disrespect to the other 3 in the bottom 4, a club of our stature, if it was properly run, really should be a little bit further away from those 3. And that's no disrespect to them. Sheffield United, I think it's probably the hardest one of the lot because they loathe us. You know, we go there and we get like minus strike chance against us and all this kind of stuff. It's just utterly irrelevant, you know, to me, as trying to be sane and civilized. But they'll think if we're down, let's drag these down with us. And that is going to be a battle. Wilder will have them fired up for that. And, you know, last night, they showed more in defeat last night at Old Trafford than we did at Goodison. Sheffield United looked at times like they were desperate to stay in the league. Last weekend at Goodison, Forest were playing like, well, no, kind of like the Wolves are at the moment, or like Fulham are, or, you know, or Bournemouth, or, you know, they played like
it was poor. It just didn't look like scoring either.
It was
Forest.
awful.
You
know, I mean, Pickford really, apart from one where Woody hit him in the chest from close range, Pickford never had a save to make, and it was like, I'm sick of going to these games where we build up and we think it's going to go well, and then we just watch Forest wither away to nothing. And I honestly, I really think that they are not good enough for this league, and they're probably about 8th or 9th in the Championship stand at the moment. They may go and, you know, bring some miracle on Sunday, but that's not happening. So I just don't think. I think the most winnable of the 4, Dan, and you may back me up on this. I did watch your really, really good podcast where you talked about Chelsea, and I thought it was fantastic. You know, Zach from Saved by the Bell, I thought was one of the funniest lines I've heard for years. Right? You know, maybe Chelsea at home is the one that's winnable, but I don't know. I just think that we haven't earned the karma. And it was interesting. Little Dan put the thing on this week, and I had to laugh, and he was right. Lewis O'Brien and Harry Toffolo at Wembley. John Moss didn't go and look at the VAR. Now, if John Moss had gone and looked at the VAR, we might not even be in this league. So my belief is that these things do even out. And I'll get pelters for that, but from the conspiracy theorists. But then conspiracy theorists always think they know better than the rest of us, don't they? You know what I mean? So, no, the worst week to be a Forest fan for a long time. And unfortunately, I think the weeks yet to come might be even worse. But I'll be there next season. Plymouth and Portsmouth away, I'll be there, mate.
Let's hope that you can do us a favour like last year.
What are you going to get? Botsy, you're going to get a body swap, aren't you? You're going to get rid of this old fart, and you're going to get that absolutely lovely Leeds fan down there taking my place, aren't you, mate?
Maybe. We don't know yet.
I don't think you're going down, by the way, Dave. You won't go down. I'm sorry to the other Dave.
No, I think you're right, Joe. I think it's a real struggle for Luton Town to even be in this division right now. And as gutted as I will be to leave it, I think that's more reality. I think it's more reality for us. 4 games to go. We haven't had a run of games more than 2 in a row. We haven't done that. The only team that we haven't scored against, which I'm quite proud of at the moment, and we've got a chance to put that right, is Fulham. We've scored against every other team, but it's a tough ask, and I'd be delighted if we stay up. But I think, being a realist, I think it's a difficult task, and I think if
Yeah.
Forest go down, it won't be because of Luton; it'll be because of Burnley.
But the thing is about Burnley, I believe they have to play Manchester United, Newcastle, and Tottenham before they play us. So that little run isn't great. You know, Tottenham
You
have got
say
some
that, I'm
play
changing
ball.
my mind.
I mean,
Flip-flop,
Man
no,
United,
that's
you
no
never
matter.
know what you're going to get. Newcastle and Spurs is difficult. Man United, I'm sorry, like if Arsenal go to Old Trafford and don't win, it is a disgrace. Like they are a shambles. I mean, they absolute shambles for me.
And yeah,
so
Dan,
we'll see.
they're a
Yeah,
shambles,
was
we're a
horrible
shambles, but
moment
they're a
that was
shambles
done there,
into
sorry.
an FA Cup final. You know what I mean? It's and still with the chance of Europe. So I'd rather be their shambles than our shambles.
What was that,
The
little
only
Dan?
team we haven't lost against
You've
in
just
the
went
Premier
viral a
League.
little bit there, Dan, saying if you don't go to Old Trafford and beat them, you're a shambles.
Well, we are. You can't win the league and go to that place and not win. I mean, honestly, they are terrible, mate.
For me, the
Honestly,
title
they are.
race, Dan, is this weekend for you. If you slap Tottenham this weekend, momentum takes you the way.
Yeah.
Joel
Agreed.
mentioned it earlier. Liverpool haven't been at it since Salah got injured at the AFCON. Dave mentioned Gundogan. Replacing Mahrez with Doku is another thing for me with Man City faltering. Haaland isn't on fire. De Bruyne has still got that game where he could literally score 3, set up 6 in one game, but he's not fully fit at the moment. I think it's Arsenal's year. Yeah. And
Maybe we'll win on Sunday.
I really want Arsenal to win it for you, Dan, but for the majority of your fan base, I really fucking hope you don't. But we'll be at Anfield again on the last game of the season. We've been, what was it? The team that have played Wolves on the last game of the season, 3 out of the last 4 seasons have finished second. So we'll be there again at the last game of the season at Anfield. We'll be giving Klopp his farewell songs, reminding them how they nearly won the league again. Yeah, I'll be there at Anfield the last day, really giving to the Liverpool fans. It's no other team's ever won the Premier League 4 consecutive times in a row. It's Arsenal's year, Dan.
Yeah, man.
Oh man, I hope so. I would know nothing more. Joe, like Arsenal to win, Leeds to win. We're both happy, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Mate.
That's the way it's got to be. Listen, let's stay with you, Lil Dan. We'll end on Wolves and Leeds. Gary O'Neill, real talk, bruv. Real talk. He has done a good job actually, he's done a great job at Wolves, and he's being linked with Liverpool. Now it looks like they're going to get on slot. I don't know if he was actually interviewed or if it's a load of rubbish, but I'd love you to come in and see where your thoughts are on this one, because I think it would be a big mistake to make a jump. I think he has definitely got to stay at Wolves, because for me, when Wolves actually do get their players back, I think Gary O'Neill has got a very, very good chance of doing very well with Wolves, right? I've been very impressed with him. Been impressed with him off the pitch as well as on it. But I think if he went to a big club like Liverpool or another club that might be linked with him, I just think it'd be a bad move. Now, West Ham might not be the huge pressure that like Liverpool would be, but I still just think what would be the point of that? Like you might as well stay with Wolves, and like Lawless will hate me for that, but I'm serious. Like that is not a huge jump, is it, from Wolves to West Ham? In my opinion, it's not. Like for me, West Ham are going to be out of everything this season. In my opinion, they're going to finish a few points above Wolves, if that. Yeah, and that's if Wolves don't win the next few games. So for me, I think stay put where you are. Are you surprised he's been linked with the jobs, or is that what happens when you do well, bruv? Is that a compliment?
That's exactly what it is. I think he may be a victim of his own success coming into next season. We're on a winless bout of 7 games now, and there's a good chance we won't win a game for the rest of this season. We're just not. We're literally burnt out. We didn't bring any players in January. We let more players go out. Wolves, since we got promoted, haven't been a team that has had a big squad of depth at any point, even under Nuno when we were in the Europa League. Gary O'Neill's done sensational this season. I'm really disappointed at Sam's comments in the WhatsApp group the other day about failing upwards. But I feel he's done outstanding with the players that Julian Lopetegui said couldn't compete in the Premier League. I think Lopetegui's credibility within football should be as low as it can possibly be. Any club that's willing to give him a chance and give him the money that he's going to request, I think is really daft, because I think he's really let himself down, saying this group of players couldn't compete. Matheus Cunha, Pedro Neto, we had Matheus Nunes at the time, with some really good players. And Gary O'Neill's got us playing some really good football at times. I think the injuries, I mean, we had Pedro Neto, Matheus Cunha, Hwang Hee-chan, and Jean-Ric Bellegarde, our main 4 strikers, all injured at the same time. It's like, why couldn't it have just been spread? One defender, one midfielder. It all came in one area at the worst time of the season. We were in the hunt for the European places. We had Coventry in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup at home, and we've got an 18-year-old kid playing up front. It's the ownership's massively culpable for how this season's petered out, and Gary O'Neill, as how do you say, tactically implied he's not happy with the way things are at the club. And West Ham was the concern for me because he's played for West Ham.
Yeah.
They're a good, strong club. His family live in Brighton, so it's not big travel distance for him. It would have made sense for him to go there if West Ham did try and poach him. They've got to back him in the summer because I was massively underwhelmed. I think I said it earlier on in the season. Every Wolves fan, even Gary O'Neill himself, said he would have been underwhelmed as a Wolves fan when he was appointed as manager. But he's earned the right to try and build a squad of the player profile that he wants this summer. And our owners have been looking for investment for 2 or 3 years now, and it hasn't come. And I feel like they need to either put up or sell up now, because their investment could massively fall flat on their face if they continue running the club the way that they are. Not as bad as what Dave's club's being run, but you can't keep running a Premier League club on a self-sustainable policy. You can't compete on that unless you're bringing through conveyor belts of academy players, which is another thing that really grates me at the moment. We had an 18-year-old player in the quarterfinals. We had a 19-year-old play against Villa the other week, and these kids just ain't great. We ain't got any Robbie Keanes, Jolyon Lescott's coming through the academy anymore. And Arsenal have just stole one of our 15-year-olds. I think the Welsh lad, Braden, I can't think what his full name is, Welsh under-18s captain or something. Newcastle have just stolen another of our academy graduates. If we're not bringing players through and selling them on for big money, then are you ever going to be self-sustainable in the Premier League? It's tough to take, because again, we're on the cusp of another great season, and Gary O'Neill would have been in the hunt for manager of the year for me if things would have went a little bit more our way. But now, I said we're close to going 7, 8, 9, 10 games without a win, and I don't know what sort of mindset that goes into next season, because the majority of the fan base understanding and reasoning of how the squad's been depleted and things have gone wrong for Gary O'Neill, but he's still doing a great job. The players have been playing, running their socks off for him recently, and it's tough to take. But at the start of the season, we were in everyone's relegation.
Yeah.
It wasn't so. It's just disappointing that it's ended this way, because
he's done a great job, man. He's done a great job. He has, and I think
he's a good guy as well. Really good guy.
Yeah, I like everything off the pitch with him as well. I think he's been brilliant, I must say.
Yeah.
Listen, I've got a football match to go and watch. So, Joe, we're going to wrap up with you, bro, and then do some predictions.
I'll be quick, mate.
Leeds this season, it's going to happen, isn't it, bruv? What's your last couple of games, and Joe, are you confident, bruv?
QPR tomorrow night, and then we've got Southampton. If we beat QPR, I think we'll do it. Just because Ipswich, because Coventry were in the semi-final, they've got to play 3 games in 7 days. So we'll only have 1 game left when they've got 3. So if we win tomorrow, they'll have 4 points to catch us with, and they've got to go away to Hull, who won last night, and they're 3 points off the top 6. They've then got to go away to Coventry. And then their final day game is against Huddersfield, which I back them in. But again, you never know. Huddersfield could still be in the hunt in the relegation zone. So they've got 3 very difficult games. Beat QPR tomorrow night. I think we'll do it, because Southampton, I think Russell Martin might rest a few and stuff now that they're in the playoffs, guaranteed. They got slapped up 5-0. So I'm a little bit worried about QPR, just because mathematically they're not safe yet, although I think they will be. They need probably a point or a win, but they'll stay up anyway. But yeah, we need Somerville on it, Rutter on it, Nonto, the boys that have just been absolutely phenomenal this season.
Archie Gray, what
a player.
Lovely player.
Yeah.
Lovely
what a player. He's been playing in midfield as well. Because that just brings me on to Dan's point, because we just lost a 15-year-old, the most ever paid 7-figure, and he's gone to City. I forgot his name now, and they're sniffing around Harry Gray. Harry Gray is Archie's younger brother, who plays as a striker, and he's smashing them in left, right and centre. But I'm glad that we've got the Greys family ingrained in the football club because it means they'll stay put for a little bit. And sometimes you need that, right? Otherwise, like Dan says, they just get siphoned off by these top clubs now, unfortunately, and that's the way football's going. But yeah, Leeds United win tomorrow, Dan, and I'm confident we'll do it because then the pressure on Ipswich is insane, and they've got to go away to Hull and Coventry, and they're out, top teams outside of the top.
Not easy,
teams,
man.
so.
They got the hardest fixtures, I think, Ipswich, unfortunately. Because I do want to see them go up, obviously. Before we close, it's time for a prediction.
I think we're either going to win, draw, or lose. That's the prediction.
That's brilliant.
Never gets old. Never gets old.
It's like a younger me.
Let's do Dave and Dan at Luton and Wolves first. See, they play each other. Dave, what are you saying, bro?
Oh God! What I'm saying is, if the right Luton Town turns up, we can give them a game. I'd be happy with a draw. So that's what I'm going to say, a draw. But obviously, so I'm going to go for a 1-1. Why not? But genuinely, if the right Luton Town turns up, we can give them a game and maybe we can nick it. But, saying what Dan has just said about his squad, our squad is the same. I think it's going to be fairly even. But if we lose, then I'm wearing black armbands next week.
Oh, bless you, man. Bless you. Lil Dan, what are you saying, bro?
2-1 Luton.
Wow.
I'll take that, Dan. Thanks very much.
Honestly, we're burnt out. The lads are trying, but we've got probably, I think Gary O'Neill said the other day, we had 10 senior outfield players available last week, and the bench is full of academy kids, and it's harsh to say, but I'm just not anywhere near Premier League level. Luton will make it physical. Rob Edwards coming back to Wolves, he'll be wanting to try and get a result. He was at the game last night, Wolves-Bournemouth, and I think Rob Edwards might fear a bit of a backlash on the back of that defeat last night, but like I said, I think the majority of the team are burnt out now, and it's we always drop points to the lowest league side, lower table sides. Don't win classic Wolves. We'll beat Man City for you in a couple of weeks, Dan, but we'll lose to Luton this weekend.
Do you know what? Selfishly, I would take that, little Dan. Selfishly, I would take that. Dave, what are you saying? 6-0, 5-0.
He's putting black armbands on. I'm putting a black cap on and heading for the gallows. I shall need rubber armbands to stop me sinking. I mean, to be honest with you, all logic suggests a demolition, really. But I mean, we got a point off them last year. But last year, I think we were the Luton of last year. We were the kind of the feel good story, and people liked us being back in it. This year, I think we've burnt a lot of our bridges with the neutrals. Really, I mean, I love my club, right, dearly. Always have done, always will do. But at the moment, I don't like them. Is it possible to love them but not like them? They're not likable. Then there's no charm about Nottingham Forest. It's a charmless. It is Trumpian. It's run by the Donald Trump of football because that's what he is. And so I think at the weekend, I mean, 5 or 6. At the very least, they need to turn up and say to us who pay a hell of a lot of money and are going to have to pay a hell of a lot more money, that they realise that they're in a relegation battle. And it'd be nice to say, we appreciate there are only 4 games left. We also appreciate how angry you feel about decisions. We're going to channel that. I'm going to chuck it against the world and European champions. But the gulf in class is just so huge. 5-0 City, I think, honestly.
Dan, I know you won't want to be reminded of this, but Forest beat you in the running last season. It might happen again this Sunday. You know what I mean? That Forest. Dave, all it takes is one moment, a bit of luck, a bit of a deflection. Before you know it, the tables have turned, and Marinakis is singing Nessun Dorma in the final game of the season after their heroic survival.
Do you know what, little Dan? I've missed you. You're like my psychologist, mate, and my psychiatrist. I feel better for talking to you, mate. And like you say, last year we did do that. I mean, I almost would rather veer towards total abject, giving away of the idea, but. If I was to come on and say, I think they'll nick it 1-0, they'll get hammered. So maybe if I think because they're going to get hammered, they might do something. It would be so Foresty. The one thing we're all united on is that could be a Foresty thing to happen to beat City, but I can't see it at all.
Fair play. Listen, Joe, what are you saying? Keep your lead.
Yeah, Leeds nervy 2-1, mate. Leeds nervy 2-1.
You'll take that, man. You'll take that. Right, let's go watch this game. Joe, ask me what my favourite bird is.
What's your favourite bird?
Seagulls. Man. Seagulls. Come on, you seagulls. Go and do something.
Peacocks.
Please do something. We're going to get out of it, people. Make sure you smash a like. Make sure you subscribe. Go follow all these guys as well. Surfshark VPN. Click on it and pinned in the comments or link in the description. And we'll
Dan,
see you
sorry,
next
just
time.
before you exit,
Oh,
mate, I'm getting so close to 30k, and I've got.
Go.
I've got Willie Nonto signed home, away, and third shirt to give away. 3 with certificate of authentication.
Okay, you should have said, Joe.
so yeah. There you go.
Go on, little Dan.
Do it. Just Joe. Go over there now. Hit Just Joe. Get into 30k, and then you'll get a chance to win that shirt, signed shirt, Willie Nonto, one of your best players. Love it.
Yeah.
We're out of here,
Thank
people.
you, mate.
Take it easy. Laters.